All right, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to our Wednesday morning class. Today's going to be a hodgepodge because we're in an interim period and we're going to see exactly where we might want to be guided to do the next class. First thing that I want to say is I want to thank you that came out last night. It was absolutely a wonderful gathering. We had approximately 25 people here. I was especially blessed by a little couple that came from South Carolina that watches us, a young couple. They were just lovely. And he said, I've never seen a church like this. And they joined. They joined HeartLight last night as members. So it really was a great night, and we had wonderful information. We had wonderful use of the moon and tuning forks on each other to create the Vesica Pisces, to create the portal for manifestation. And then we ended up with a wonderful meditation on the Lion's Gate experience. So thank you for you that were here. And if you weren't, they were here for you. So they've opened up the gate for all of us, not just those who were here, but those who were here was opening this gate for manifestation to all of us. So we're thankful for that. I feel I want to start by reaching back a little bit, but I just recently did the fifth chakra. And I'm going to ask a few of you to share something with me that you got out of the teaching of last Sunday concerning the opening of our throat fifth chakra. Can anybody do that? If you can't, I'm going to do it again. Yes.
It was really timely for us because we have a difficult conversation that we have to have with a family member, and it really gave us the tools we need to hold the loving energy and not let negative, don't respond, don't react, be proactive, and just speak your truth and be your most authentic self and hold what you need.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. Anybody else? Are you taking anything at all away from here?
Yeah.
From these teachings?
Yes.
Beth? Yeah, Beth.
For me, it was just a good reminder because I tend to be extremely reactive. And so it was just a good reminder to say, back away, don't do that.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody else? Yes, Kathy.
When I was growing up, it was not safe to speak up for yourself. If my mother was mad at me or whatever, it wasn't safe for me to try to defend myself. So I just learned to, and not feel my feelings too. So, but in the last few years, I've gotten much better at speaking up for myself. So it reminded me of how hard that used to be for me.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. That's wonderful that we're actually finding healing for our past traumas and disappointments. We don't want to be burdened by them. It holds us back. It slows down everything when we're carrying that kind of baggage. So anybody else like to share?
I have a brother and his wife who are thinking of moving to Florida, and had a wonderful conversation with them on the phone because they're not going to do it because they're not well. My brother's not well, and he's afraid to leave New York.
Well, I think that's probably wise because I don't think there's much healing going on in Florida, although there needs to be. We need healers in Florida, let me tell you. Thank you for sharing that. So we're talking here about communication. We're talking about conversation. We're talking about how the throat is the place in which Spirit finds voice in our voice. See? Did you get that? Spirit is always looking for a voice, but it needs a voice to have a voice in. So you that are clearing that up and being more responsive to the language of Spirit, of the mystery language. And I use mystery as being only a mystery to the ego. It's not of itself a mystery, but it is a mystery to the downloadings of the ego, because sometimes what Spirit is saying doesn't match what's been downloaded from culture, religion, society, and all these natural systems that are out there. So we are here at HeartLight to give a collective voice to Spirit, so we can hear what the Spirit is saying today in 2023. If we don't do that, then we're going to go back and talk about what people said in the past. But I'm telling you, there is a word coming forth that has never been spoken. And let me give you this. Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, the things that have been prepared to them that love God, truth. And when they come, it said it will sound like foolishness, because the natural man find the deep spiritual things foolishness. So even to yourself, some of the things that are ready to come through you rather than from you is going to sound a little foolish to that other part of your mind that you've stored all these downloads from outside yourself. It's going to challenge it. So I heard this one time, when the self that you think you are meets the self that you are, there's a little bit of a conflict between the two. So you've got to go through that period of letting go. All right, I want to give somebody one more chance to share. Lynn?
I wasn't there Sunday, but I'm going to share that I spent 3 days with my mom, who's 90 and failing. And I'll just say mother-daughter relationships can be interesting. And I found myself using my voice to keep boundaries so that we had a really good visit. And that when things wandered off of that track, that silence helped things come back without being overbearing.
Yes, yes.
And so it ended up a very sweet visit, because I went in with a meditation before I walked in every time, that what I would say would be of comfort and of peace.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, Barbara.
I listened to it as well. I wasn't here. But it also reminded me of something that I had been taught on my spiritual path. Thoughts are things and words have power. And whoever I'm speaking to, I want to remember that they are part of me. They are spirit in the physical. And that can change everything. So words spoken in love and honor can allow a beautiful flow.
I really love that. The idea of when I speak to you, am I speaking also to a part of myself in you? Because you have yourself in me. We have ourself in each other. So how would you speak to yourself? Now, sometimes we speak a little harshly to ourselves, but most of the time we're a little more understanding of ourselves. That means we have to be that also understanding to that part of ourselves in other people. And we got to speak to them like we want to be spoken to. That's very beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I just so want to make sure that you're getting something and taking it from here that you're using for your life, for every day. So what I'm saying to you is, as you move from the Sunday message, that you are more aware. I think Beth was saying it well, that she wants to sit back and be more observant before she speaks and weigh her words. And we gave you a bunch of wonderful scriptures like life and death is in the power of the tongue, and there's all kinds of things we gave you that talk about the power of the spoken word and how that word carries a element of creation to it. So we create by the words that we think. And that's what's happening now to me in this escalation of polarity, especially in the political arena, is we don't realize that being against something is feeding the thing we're against. I know we think we're doing good, but actually we're feeding. The universe does not care if you're for or against. If you're focused on it and you're directing your consciousness to it, then you're feeding it. And right now the Earth's pain body is so high that if we keep feeding it, it's going to get worse until before it gets better, or we can intervene and begin to speak from love rather than fear, and from faith rather than appearance, and we can begin to shift and change this thing and start diminishing the power from the world as we see it today and bring it toward what is called a new earth. So yes, thank you very much for all of that. I just happened to notice on the list here that the animals is the elephant, bull, and lion. Isn't that interesting that the fifth chakra represents the animal, lion, and here we were celebrating Lionsgate. So there was a connection there if we look at it, at all the things that are coming together here. Last night, we talked about creating the Vesica Pisces, and I wanted you that were here to understand, because some of you bought the forks. I don't know who all bought the moon and sun tuners, but good for you that you can use these to almost daily or more than daily to keep your portal open. Now, opening a portal and keeping the portal open is not the same thing. Don't think because you've opened it that it's not open, because when you open portals, two things happen. They transmit out and they bring in. So two things are happening, going in and news coming out, old is kind of leaving too. So you have to realize you can become vulnerable when you start opening these pathways. And therefore you must be what I call the guard of your portal. You've got to stand guard of your portal. And I think that again, what we was talking about, that we need to be conscious and mindful and aware of the words that we speak, the thoughts that we think, which then bases the feelings that we have. And finally, when it gets to the physical realm, it becomes an emotion. Emotion is a feeling that has made it to the body level. And when you get it to the body level, then it starts making imprints in the etheric blueprint. See? So it's not just thinking it, but it's thinking it, feeling it, and bringing feeling to the physical level in which it becomes an emotion. And when that emotion comes, and it could be emotion based on fear, anger, grief, hatred, whatever, then it imprints itself in the etheric body. Now what's powerful about that is that every cell that dies in you looks to that blueprint to recreate itself. That's why there is not really such a thing as a healing of the body from the level of the body. The body, we keep saying the body can heal itself. The body can only heal itself when it changes its etheric blueprint. Now I'm going to be talking on this Sunday, and I hope that you will bear with me, but once a year I try to bring Soul Energetics and HeartLight together. And we're getting ready. We just had a phase 1, but we have been guided to have another one for some reason. I don't know why. So there were some here that did mention some interest in it, and we have a lady that called us flying in. So I thought, I don't want a big one, I just want a smaller workshop. So we're going to be doing that in September, have it. Now a lot of you say, well, I'm not going to do tuning forks and whatever, but I guarantee you the workshop itself will transform your life. Yeah, I promise you it will. It's powerful. Barbara, right? Christy, right? Anybody else here? And some of you took it back when I came here, and you need to come and retake. Some of you already have the forks. Bring them back, and you can come in for half price, because you already have your forks, you don't have to buy them, and come in and really think about it. There's a flyer back there. So I want to talk on the power of the code of the solfeggio frequencies, which I believe is what the Bible calls the keys to the kingdom. And the keys of David. Those are two things. The keys of David are in the singing of the Psalms, which were solfeggio, and the singing and what Jesus said to Peter, I give you the keys to the kingdom, are not keys like in a door, but keys that are different sound. Like when I play the piano, sometimes I play in the key of C, sometimes I play in the key of F, sometimes I play in the key of G. Now C, F, and G together creates a whole musical. All I need is those 3 chords, and I can just about play most anything I want to play. But if I'm in the key of E flat, then I need to know A flat and whatever the next one is. Those 3 go together as a combination, and they open up the music. So you have within you a code of frequencies that has been suppressed since around 1050 AD and was taken out by the Catholic Church, which was being done in Gregorian chants, and people were on their way from becoming humankind to godkind, and they stopped it because they chose to build a religion called Christianity on fear, and therefore they did not want frequencies that empowered the people, but they wanted to change them to frequencies that hold us in a box. So anyway, I'm going to talk about that Sunday, so I hope that you will not find that an excuse to not come, but I think it's very important that you do come and tell others about that. So anyway, I just doing a little review from Sunday and from last night that you kind of understand a little bit about this. I have this book, you can't see it, but it's called Sacred Geometry. And this is where, I think I got this when I took my my class on becoming a Reiki master many years ago, as how this book came to me. But this is where I found out how that the solar or sun with the lunar creates the balancing consciousness called the Vesica Pisces. So you can't see this, but there's 2 circles going through each other that creates that Vesica Pisces. One of the ways to view the Vesica Pisces is as a representation of the intermediate realm, which partakes of both the unchanging and the changing principles, the eternal and the ephemeral. Human consciousness does function as a mediator. I like that, a mediator, the 2 complementary poles of consciousness. Universal consciousness is solar, the source is gold. It means unchanging, archetypal realm, reality, and unification. Through it is the lunar or moon, which is the reflection of silver. You have silver and gold, which means changing, sensible realm, actuality, and pluralism. How many of you understand that the moon has no light of its own? It only reflects the light of the sun, but it has no light of its own. It's the reflection of the sun upon it. And of course, in the teachings I was raised in, we were taught the moon represents the church that reflects the light of the sun. So I still kind of believe in that if we see the church as a spiritual community of people, that we are positioning ourselves to begin to reflect the truth of the light of the Son, the Father, whatever you choose to call it. So this is some good stuff here. So what I want to talk about today is something that is called the human residence of 2023, the effects on our brain waves and behaviors. The human resonance is called the heartbeat of the earth. And our brain waves has a surprising similarity. So you have to understand what is going on in the earth, on the earth, and above the earth is affecting you every day. Every day. So when the earth changes something of itself, it finds that resident of itself in us and begins to change and tune us to the change that the earth is taking. So physically, we truly are of the dust of the earth, so to speak. We are the children of Mother Earth. just as our spirit is the spirit of Father. See, the Father represents the spirit, the Mother represents the earth or the body realm. We have every mineral in our body that's in the earth. You got to have minerals. The earth has to have minerals. So there's a similarity between this two. So I've been fascinated with this whole thing of watching the human resonance. So let's talk about what is the human resonance. The human resonance speaks of the ELF. Anybody know what that is? Extremely low frequency. These are the things you got to watch because you're getting a large dose of it right now through your computer, your phones, your televisions, and through all technology is basically a extremely low frequency. It's a part of the electromagnetic spectrum resulting in the Earth's atmosphere. So as I said, there is teachings of what's in the earth, on the earth, and above the earth also, and under the earth. Okay? So all of these are affecting us in some way. These peaks of low frequency electromagnetic waves manifest themselves in the atmosphere between, now this is important, the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. How many know there's spheres around the Earth? No. So there is a connection between what is happening between the Earth and the ionosphere, which functions as a closed waveguide. In other words, a lot of the frequencies and vibrations that come from the Earth go out and bounce off the ionosphere and comes back on the Earth in the form of different waves, sound waves of frequencies. This is affecting your life every day. Human resonance are the main background in the 3 hertz to 60 hertz parts of the electromagnetic spectrum and appear as distant peaks as extremely low frequencies and have had a base of 7.83 hertz for a long period of time. That's where it has hovered. Now, this is important. What does that mean to you? It means that as long as the Earth hovered at 7.83 hertz, so your brain tries to resonate to the 7.83 or 8 hertz frequency. Why is that important? Because in brain waves, that is your theta state. How many understand? You have delta, theta, alpha, beta. Everybody understand that? Everything is based on that. When you are in delta, that's what you want for sleep. Do you realize how long the inhabitants of this planet has been asleep? What do I call that? The sleep of the Adamic race. And a deep sleep fell on Adam. That means that Adam reached a point of somewhere between 0.5 and 4 hertz, or what is called the delta, sorry, the delta state of sleep. Now I have those 4 tuning forks, which I don't know why we're not all really using them, because if you really want to sleep, take that fork before you sleep. If you want to go into delta, you can probably have a better experience and deeper sleep by letting your brain resonate to that slow of a frequency. It'll shut down. Now, if you want to meditate, that's a place between sleep and not fully awake, right? You're trying to get there. And you're using the breath, and you're trying to slow down your mind, and some of you are challenged. Some of us are challenged who are overthinkers, who can't shut down the continuous firings of our neurons of our brain because we're always thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. Well, that's because that you're not tuned to the delta level. So by taking a fork and listening to it, it can, in many cases, slow the brain down to match a delta state. But now you want to meditate. So you want to go deeper. You don't go to sleep, although some people touch into delta and think they're asleep, but actually they have reached a level in which they have so stopped the brain. But you want to reach theta. Theta. So theta, let me get it, is 8 hertz. So that is where the human resonant lies now, is in the early states of we're not fully asleep, but we're not awake either. We're kind of in between this level. Now even, and we'll just round it off to 8 hertz, has been the base of the human resonance. Now the human resonance is based in Colorado. In Colorado, this is where they decide about time zones, and when we change times in the fall and in the spring, and all that rigmarole goes on. They have to reset a lot of things in Colorado Springs, which is a government place in which, believe it or not, there's some control of how you're experiencing time based on them. So some of you experience time slower, some of you are experiencing time faster, because I don't know what to do with all this intense fluctuation that is going on in the changing of the magnetic fields of the planet. Mother Earth is changing her whole position. If I had a vision of Mother Earth, I see her poised and ready to leap into the next etheric level of a new Earth. The new Earth will not be this dense, it'll be etheric. It'll still be here, but it will be a lighter, more etheric experience, including your bodies will then resonate out of this density of a sleeping body, and this is the cold universe. If you're going to take this analogy of steam, water, and ice, we could say the spirit is the pure spiritual creation that we are. That is the part of us that is undefinable, because our Creator is undefinable, but it's just called pure spirit, or the Gnostics call it the entirety. They don't try to interpret it. They just call it the always, the entirety, the realm of the true spirit being that created everything according to itself. So therefore it's created in perfection and wholeness as it is. So when you think of steam is kind of mystical. I mean, you can't really hold it. You can't really get a hold of it. You kind of see it, it's there, and you can put your hand through it and all kinds of things. So that's what spirituality is. And that is based upon a temperature. So you can say the temperature is a frequency. So when I have a higher temperature, now get this, and why steam is steam? Because steam is a form of the same thing that water and ice is. What is that? What is the basis of those three things?
H2O.
H2O. Or a H2O water molecule that is six-sided. When it is highly excited to a higher temperature, the molecules that make it up are less, and there's more space between them. That's what gives steam this more ethereal type of mystical form. Now if I turn and change the temperature down, the molecules have less space between them. So now steam takes on the form of water. Water is steam turned down to a lower temperature. Now if I keep turning, and that could represent your soul realm, because the soul is between the spirit and the body. So then let's bring it down to 32 degrees and below, freezing. Now you have ice. Ice is a three-dimensional object that you can see because there's hardly any space between the molecules. Therefore, it has formed itself into a dense objective thing called ice. So when atoms fall in temperature or vibration, it ends up being the cold universe of the body. That's why I try to do my best to heat you up a little bit on Sundays, you that are so cold. Yeah. I mean, we're not doing this music and singing just to entertain you, or whether it's good, and sometimes it's better than others, and sometimes it's not. And it's all an opportunity to change your temperature, change your vibration through music and movement and dance and whatever, clapping your hands even. Do you realize how powerful clapping your hands is? There's a whole healing method that's used to clapping your hands and using the finger chakras and the palm chakras. Why do you think the laying on of hands has worked back in the 50s and 60s when there was all kinds of healing evangelists running around laying hands on people like Oral Roberts, and where they had no idea that it was coming through the chakras in the palm of their hands? But when they be shocked about that chakra, they had no idea. So I hope you see when we talk about body, mind, and spirit, we're talking about the same thing. Everything is energy, but it's vibrating at different frequencies, which gives it three different forms. But the content does not change. It is what it is. And that's what we call the I am that I am. The ice can say, I am, six-sided wall of molecules. Water can say, well, I am too. And steam can say, hey, don't leave me out. Just because I'm more ethereal and you can't hold me or see me and make me objective, but I exist too. And it takes faith to accept the steam because it is beyond the five senses and its ability to do that. So, if the earth is changing us out of the first stage of sleep, which is in so many different schools of thought. Course in Miracles, the Bible. I don't know anything that does not talk about awakening. That's probably the message that connects about every school of thought out there is wake up. You got to, the awakening, we call it. And the Bible starts out from one end to the other. Awake thou that sleepest, and shake yourself from the dust. I love that, because shake means vibrate. Yeah, vibrate yourself out of the density of your humanity and begin to have access to the higher dimensions of who you truly are right here, right now. You don't have to go to it. You don't have to go to these three dimensions because you're a three-dimensional human being. Therefore, all three of them exist right now. So we have to find out how that we can do that. Tuning forks is one of the best ways, of course. Always come back to raw vibration. I know we want to use music, but you got to be careful of music sometimes because most music sets off something to do with the emotional body. When you hear music, you might feel something. Tuning fork, you feel nothing. Trust me. That's why I think it's not attractive to some people, because people want to feel it. They want to have the emotion of it. But when you use a raw vibration with no melody to it, then it does not connect you to your emotional body. What do I mean? All of a sudden I start thinking, oh, this reminds me of... And one of the worst things that it does, I think, I won't say worst, but one of the things it does is take us back to the memory bank of ourselves. I love 70 music because I loved 77, 78, and 79 was one of the most fun times of my life. I found disco. I had a little break from my crazy ministry change for a few years when I landed in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was 32 years old, and I really found friends, and I went out to dance, and I did things I've never done because I'm always preaching all the time. I've had no real social life whatsoever, but I got that little period of time. So I love the music. around 77, 78, 79. So I've got a station on my car that plays that, and boy, does it take me away. Oh my God, thought I was falling in love. That song, oh, I remember. Oh, this song, I was breaking up. Oh my God, it was horrible. So that's why you don't want to overdo the music aspect of it without pure raw vibration. And that's why tuning forks, and I've lost some people recently because they're finding out that there's some electronic things that they can do with the solfeggio scale. And they think now that tuning forks is too old-fashioned. No, not at all. One thing I tell them, you don't have to plug it in the grid. You want to do anything that you don't have to plug into the grid, because through the grid, they know everything you're doing and everything you're saying. Let's just be honest about it. Your smartphone, your smart TV, your smart house is pretty smart, almost smarter than us, especially Alexa. My Alexa's getting an attitude. She's talking back to me and talking. If she don't like something, she lets me know, and this has become more and more scary as I have allowed this to happen. Now, I've had to learn to turn her off, but I don't leave it on because I know they're gathering data all the time of what's going on. And they're making the collective brain bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why we're having a real issue with the concern of AI. Right now, this is getting scary. We've just discovered it in Soma Energetics, and we've used it 2 or 3 times and asked it to write something about Soma Energetics and David Hulse, and it immediately spit out pages of stuff we would have never written ourselves that knew me better than I know me. So, but that's fun, see? This is how it hooks you. It's fun. Oh my God, I don't have to think. And Tim's thinking, how much time this is going to save me from coming up with all these letters to people all the time, because they're so good. It's so good. I mean, it's so smart that about any subject that is in the global brain, it can immediately pick out all that data, put it together, write it, and shoot out a page. Where are we going to go with this? Is the concern. I'm concerned that everybody reads from their telephone. My God, I read from books because I can write and make notes, and I can have a real, I don't have to have the filter of my phone to which to look at these words. So I'm not going to apologize for that, but I know it's here, and I know that it's a part of our third dimensional world, but please be aware and be conscious of using the technology when you don't have to. When you can get a book, a real book. You can't, it's just different, but that's me, that's just me. So anyway, we have been at this stage of just moving out of sleep into theta level. Now, a child goes through this too. I don't have time. I tell you, has a good teaching on it though, is Bruce Lipton. He has a wonderful teaching about how that the fetus starts out in delta, and how that it goes through up to 2 years old in delta, and then it begins to go into theta, and we go through all these stages. So you can't tell me this is not important, because this is helping to make you who you are and form who you are, and how you relate to you and each other is all based upon these frequencies and how they are affecting us every day. Now, even though 7.83 or 8 hertz is a fundamental frequency, it peaks sometimes at 14, 20, 27, and 33 hertz. But these are just peaks, but it always returned back to 7.83 hertz. These frequencies overlap with the human brain waves, delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. Gamma is 40 hertz. Responsible for different mental states and human behavior. Do you ever day like, why do I feel this way? Why am I in this mood? Why am I grouchy today? Why was I so unkind the way I spoke to somebody? you're being affected by what's going on through these different frequencies. The Earth's ionosphere is in fact a low temperature plasma, a mixture of electricity charged. Now get this, it's due to lightning. Lightning is what connects the ionosphere with the Earth, which is actually going on all the time out there because of the connection of the Earth and the ionosphere. But it's a low temperature plasma, a mixture of electrically charged ions and electrons. The electromagnetic waves of the Schumann resonance force these particles to vibrate. The result of a vibrating ionosphere plasma sends out a subtle flow energy that affects the Earth and everything on its surface. The standing waves of the Schumann resonance are created by electromagnetic waves moving between the Earth's surface and ionosphere. We already got that one. All right, let me get. You can find today's Schumann resonance on the website on Space Monitoring Center. For you that might want to look at it, Space Monitoring Center in Tomsk, Russia. When you look at the display of today's Schumann resonant measurement, it consists of a blue background with green. All right. How does the Schumann resonance affect humans? The human brain is a biological organ, soft, flexible, and adaptive. On the other hand, the brain is relatively stable and coherent with well-developed intelligence. In order to retain intelligent thinking in a soft and adaptive organ, there needs to be a constant, globally available synchronization system that continuously stabilizes the brain. Now, what we're talking about here in some energetics is the ability to use sound through the auditory system and the vagus nerve to bring the right and left brain together in balance. This is very important. If your left brain is a little more active than the right brain, you're totally out of homeostasis. You're not in alignment. You're in alignment with the higher atmosphere of yourself. So it's very important. Last night, if you that were here, what we do, we held the sun and the moon through the auditory system, crossed the corpus callosum. What do I mean, corpus callosum? The bundles of nerves that divides the right and left brain is the corpus callosum. So I'm bringing right to left, left to right, and bringing it in. And because the frequency between the forks, what you can't see is what's important. Because the difference the brain gets. So it's neither this frequency or that frequency, but it's the difference between the frequency that goes across the corpus callosum and integrates the brain to be whole-brained. Does the resonance affect our blood pressure? Yes. On days when the Schumann resonance is higher, blood pressure also rises. In that instance, you that don't even have an issue with blood pressure, and you go to the doctor and you go somewhere and it's high, and you're wondering, what did I do? I didn't do anything different today. It's because you are subject to what's going on in the magnetic fields of the Earth at that time. It's reaching a different level. On days when the Schumann resonance is lower, the blood pressure drops. How strong is the Schumann resonance? This is an extremely low frequency wave that can be as low as 8 hertz. Some 100,000 times lower than the lowest frequency of radio waves used to send signals to your AM/FM radio. The foundational Schumann resonance is the strongest at 783 hertz, or around 8 hertz, and is generally has a strength measured to something I can't even pronounce. The Schumann resonance could not exist without electromagnetic waves. They are the basis of the phenomenon. The main source of the magnetic radiation is lightning activity on the Earth. With an average of billions of thunderstorms worldwide, get this, each year 40 to 50 lightning discharges occur almost every second. Did you know that? Every 40 to 50 seconds, there has been 40 to 50 lightning discharges somewhere on the planet. This creates a spectrum of electromagnetic waves that are sent into the atmosphere. These low frequency waves are in the spectrum of 100 to 1,000 hertz. The high frequency oscillations of reach the spectrum of the higher range. These waves move invisibly around the globe at the speed of light. Since lightning activity is not the same in all parts of the world, it varies slightly in different regions of the planet. Namely, there are significant differences in lightning over Africa, South America, and Asia. Yes?
That storm a couple days ago?
Yes.
I was watching it on the news. There were over 400 lightning strikes in our area within 5 minutes.
Wow. There you go.
So lightning raise or lower? The
What?
frequency. Lightning raises or lowers?
I don't think it's a higher or lower thing. I think it is a matching frequency for whatever state that we are tuned into consciously. So if I'm in the delta state, I want that vibration and frequency in the delta state. Yeah. So this is, I'm going to hold this up, you can see it, but these are the waves and how much, if you look at the gamma, how close they are together, and then you get into beta and how it slows down to here. So this is why you can sleep, this is why you can meditate, this is why you can learn. You want alpha when you're learning, when you're in a class and you're reading something that you want to learn, you want to take out something, hopefully a tuning fork, and put yourself in alpha for creativity, okay? If you want alertness, concentrating, you're working with a machine, you're working with something that you need to be very awake and aware, you want to get this up to 12 to 30 hertz, which is beta. Beta is alert, awake. When you're driving, you want to be in beta, you don't be in theta. Or delta, definitely. So, you hear that, Sandra? Getting in the garage and going to delta. Anyway, that's a joke between us. Anyway. So anyway, I don't know where that came from, but I'm just being silly.
By the way, laughter brainwaves are at 30 to 40 hertz
Gamma.
and help, well, actually it says that
Well,
the
close
frequencies are similar to those who meditate and reach the state of contentment and happiness.
Yes, yes, concentration, meditation. All these overlap with each other too, and you don't want to just put this in one category and this in another category, because like we were talking early, all these things are in us at all times. So we're going back and forth. There's times of the day you're more alert. There's times of the day you kind of just feel you want to sit down and just get quiet. There might want to take a nap. You won't want to meditate. So this can all happen in one day as you go through all these different waves and vibrations in that way. There's a lot, I won't go into it, but there's a lot based on Tesla and the Schumann. He certainly understood. Nikola Tesla, who was at the turn of the century in 1900, already proposed Earth itself as a state of resonance and a frequency below 10 hertz. He suggested the ionosphere reflect the energy at the antipode of transmission in Colorado Springs in such a way as to create standing waves. If you know about Tesla, you know he went to Colorado to prove that he could pull electricity out of the air, that energy was free. And then Westinghouse and them came and stole all of his patents and shut him down, and he died in poverty completely because they took all of his stuff. Marconi took it. He had the first radio. Marconi did not. So all these people in history that are getting credit for doing things is those who stole the patents from Tesla. Edison, absolutely. Edison bought it, took it over. So all these things have been bought by the few who control your electricity, your energy. They decide how much you pay for it. And of course, they're getting at the top millions and billions of dollars as CEOs over these companies whatsoever. They don't want you to know that you yourself can create your own frequencies and vibrations. Things are changing, no doubt about it. So I just wanted to kind of bring that out a little bit to you, to understand that you are living in the midst of a lot of change, and it's the change as we move now from theta toward our next level of alpha. So you're going to start experiencing a little bit difference in your in the way that your brain works a little bit. And of course we want to enter into the frequency for awakening and toward beta/gamma levels of total awakening. So these are things that you can look up and check out for yourself if you're interested. And I do encourage you, because I know I bring you things that maybe some of you, it's new to you, you didn't know about. And it's up to you to do your own research and make it your own. So do that. How many here has a computer? Okay. Use it. If you don't use it, it's going to use you. So use it. Use it to look up things that will help you raise your consciousness, things that will help correct old bad data that has been put in your head by culture and society and religion, because I'm continuously correcting myself all the time. Even what I talk about gets corrected because I tune into different information about it, and it helps me to see it totally different. Right now, I'm a complete, intense student of Gnosticism, and it is changing everything for me. So get ready for a little tuning, but it's some of the things I've been teaching. I did not know that I was tapped into the Gnostic message. And the Gnostic message is before Christianity. It's about the 1st century, 2nd century. And man, is it filling in a lot of what I talk about beyond anything I can tell you. I'm also a student right now of Zen, understanding what Zen means, and I want to start teaching that to you, how to use Zen as a wonderful tool for bringing you into peace that passes understanding, joy that is exceeding, and life that is abundant. So we got a few minutes here, and I'll just kind of, okay, 2 things. I really like this. It's not deep or heavy, but it could be extremely useful, and it's called Journey into Wholeness. It is helping us to know how we get to our wholeness through a journey. And I really like it. I like it because it has some wonderful exercises, such as an exercise of transforming pain into joy. And it's just it's a very good book that I think is practical teaching for me. You know, I'm not very practical. And that's why I'm glad we have other teachers here and people that can teach more practically than I do. I'm the way out there guy, and I'm the big picture guy, and I say it way out there, but sometimes you may leave here and think, okay, now what do I do with this and how do I get there? So I'm putting this on the list for the next class. The second thing, and these were all done with my pendulum, is called Resilience from the Heart. I think it's great. It is the power to thrive in life's extremes. So they're kind of both on how can we live the highest and best during this time? How can we tap in to experiencing a higher experience at the time of breakdown and all the things that are going on? Let me just give you some examples of what you would experience here. First is the uncharted heart. New discoveries reveal even deeper mysteries. 2, resilience of the heart, the power to thrive in life's extremities. 3 is a resilient life, 5 keys to a healthy community. 4, now is different, our time of extremes. 5, good news, we already have the solutions. I like that one. 6, from tipping points to turning points, the power to choose. And 7, getting serious about life transformed, real solutions in the real world. It's excellent stuff. So if either one of those, I got a thing in the suggestion box, wanting more Course of Miracles. I don't know that I want to turn this into a total Course of Miracles class. I do try to integrate Course of Miracles into the class as much as I can, and on Sundays. I wish we had the time and the space to have a Course of Miracles group here for those who are attracted to it. Not all of you are, but some people really love A Course in Miracles. But again, A Course in Miracles, like everything else, I don't want to make it the teaching, because I do not, and the Course tells you that. It tells you it is not the teaching. It's very clear about that. It's just a path for certain people who want to go through a spiritual, psychological way of correcting and forgiving some of the old teachings that mostly religion has done for us, because it's in the language of religion. It's really for those who still are holding on to old doctrines of religion and want maybe a shift in perception to what sin means or what this means or whatever. So, you know, it's up to me. We'd be having classes all the time, but we can't do that, so I'm not going to do that. So anyway, that is what's going on here. If you have any other suggestions, I'm more than glad to take them into consideration and ask Spirit what to do. So 5 minutes. I'll open it up to you. What's on your mind? Yes.
Well, you're talking about the throat chakra and also about us as water. It brought to mind Emoto and his water crystal experiments. I'm sure you're probably aware.
It's on our Soul Energetics work, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have all that stuff we show, cymatics, how the sound creates physiology and all that. So that'll be done in the Phase 1 workshop. You'll see all these videos and all this wonderful things. So do your best to do that. Thank you for your support. August is always a little more challenging because you all travel a lot and you're mostly not here every Sunday, a lot of you. So remember, it's not out of sight, out of mind. So we continue to have to meet our obligations here at HeartLight. Anybody else have anything you want to share, ask, or say? Schumann is named after Mr. Schumann, actually, a German engineer that absolutely is the one who found all of this. So it got its name, is why the word Schumann is used. Yes, Sandra.
Oh, I was going to say that another thing that's being impacted with the changes is balance. So if people are having a lot of balance issues, it's directly related to the shift in the Schumann resonance. So I'm not drunk when y'all see me
Another thing I might throw out too is, and I have not done it here, but I am a HeartLight teacher, practitioner, Heart Math. So we've never had a Heart Math class here, but actually Heart Math is weaved into here, into this teaching of resilience from the heart, is based on a lot of it. But it's a wonderful class. Some of you took it, I think, with Nancy, Reverend Nancy at Unity. She was really good at it. In fact, I took it under her. So, but I have all that information, and we could do HeartLight for a few times if that's something that would interest you. So why don't you kind of let me know? I tell you the best way to let me know is to put it in the suggestion box So if there's some paper back there, I guess, Michael, or okay, just write down there one of these things. Do you want to go through the journey to wholeness, or would you like to go resilience of the heart, or maybe to heart math? So kind of check with your higher self and with your heart and see which one of those kind of perks you up a little bit and you go, oh, I like the sound of that. And that way it'll give me some guidance that I'll take to the altar of my higher self and see what we get on that.
Can you explain a little what heart math is?
Heart Math is an institute out in Northern California that has spent its time proving some of the things that we all teach, like the difference between DNA and the resilience. They have found 40% of the neurons of the brain is in the heart. So they teach heart breathing and how to find yourself a way to have resilience quickly from low emotions and things. It's spiritual but scientifically based, but it's really good, and it'd be a good class. And it's a class that would take participation on your part to some degree, which I think might be a good thing for us to have a little bit more of that. So yeah, heart math is something that's been taught in corporations. It's all over the world. It's not a religion. It is transcendent of all religion, and it's being used to help people to quickly center themselves back into their heart and not be so knocked out emotionally by deep emotions and whatever. So it's very good.
Plus your telomeres get benefit.
Sorry?
Your telomeres going to benefit from when you have the brain and the heart.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love talking about telomeres. Yeah. Yeah, that's what ages us, is our telomeres. So we want to do anything to slow down the chipping off of the enzyme of telomerase, or telomase, which is telomeres that age. It's not years. Your body can live on a long time. It could live up to 120 years or more, like they did in the Testament. They lived for 800 years, 900 years, so it says. So maybe they did, because there were giants in the land. But we don't live very long because of the fact that these telomeres chip off the tips of our DNA and ages us. So it's not the years that ages you, it's the chipping off of these telomeres that ages you. So the more you slow that down, the slower you age. It's a wonderful anti-aging teaching that we can certainly weave into any of this teaching. Is all the things that exercise does it. Your diet, your mood, attitude, all these things affect the telomeres. So you have control. It's very associated with epigenetics. Yeah, it's through epigenetics, and that is what you have control of. You don't have a lot of control. It's a harder control over your ancestral DNA, but you've got the epi beyond your genetics that is based on your environment. That you have control of. How you change your environment changes how your DNA works. So, we got a lot to talk about. Welcome to HeartLight School 101, I guess, or 102, something like that, because that's what we are.
Laughter yoga event.
Huh?
We need another laughter yoga.
Sure, yeah. Let's do it. We can do it on a Wednesday. We can do it anytime. All right, thank you so much for coming. Have a great day. Hope to see you Sunday. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you.